never judge a Yid by how he looks. I want to tell you a story of something that happened to me about a month and a half ago, and had I experienced this when I was 18 years old, 18 years ago, it would have completely changed the entire trajectory of my entire Jewish journey and my very, very long conversion path, which took me 14 years between deciding that I was going to go through conversion, really knowing I was Jewish, and just feeling like this was something I was 100% going to do at 18 years old, to actually converting 14 years later. And the sort of in a nutshell version of the reason is that I was just so intimidated by the Frum community, and I knew I wanted to be Frum. I knew that Torah mitzvot, like I wanted the whole package, and I knew that was that Orthodox Judaism, so to speak, was a version of Jewish life that I wanted to embrace and live. And the reason I waited so long was that I just felt that Frum Jews were just on this completely different level, this completely different plane, and that I felt so intimidated, and just like I could never be like that. And so I waited so long because of these insecurities. So anyway, the story happened to me about a month ago. I live now here in Yerushalayim, thank God. And it was a little bit after the war started. I was going to the grocery store, bringing my cart and just kind of rushing off. And as I'm going up my street, I notice in the corner of my eye, I just see, like in the periphery, I see a man with his pants down on the street. And immediately I darted my gaze like away from the street where I was, just kind of looked away because I didn't want to shame him. Like I knew what I saw like through the corner of my eye, and I didn't want him to be embarrassed. So I just, I looked away. And as I passed, I noticed that somebody was helping him, trying to pull his pants up, and it was a more like elderly man. And at a certain point, I realized that the person who was helping him, they basically like tried a couple times to lift his pants up, and they walked away and moved on. And so I noticed this man then just standing there in the middle of the street. I guess his pants basically kept falling down. And I noticed that his helper had walked off. It wasn't somebody with him. And now here was this elderly man standing in the middle of the street in public in broad daylight, and his pants continued to fall down, and he was having a hard time. And so I was just horrified at the situation, didn't know what to do. And as much as I didn't want to shame him by looking at him, I also, God forbid, didn't want others to see him in this state. So I was like, I went up to him, I honestly, I don't remember. I either went up to him or he called out to me. But I ended up standing with this man then, realizing the situation, and he explained to me in kind of broken English that he needed help because his pants kept falling down, and he was didn't seem all together, like put together. And so I didn't know what to do, and to be completely candid, he was not very clean, and it was just a very unusual situation, and I personally didn't feel comfortable. Also, especially like specifically as a woman, I didn't feel comfortable, actually pulling his pants up and being that close to him, and just being in this very, awkward position. So I didn't know what to do. I stood with him. I was just like at a loss, and I decided I would just stand there with him and ask a man for help. And so it was a busy street, so there were, plenty of people passing by. I waited a few seconds or so. I saw a man coming over, and he was like a frum man, like, very like yeshivish looking, nice suit, like, tzitzit out, things like that. And so I thought, okay, here's a good kid. I'll ask him for help. He'll understand the situation, and God willing, he'll help us out, and I could sort of be relieved of my duties, and I'll go off to the market. And so I asked this man, I said, I kind of point to him and I say, like, can you please help? Like, he needs help pulling his pants up. And the man refused. He said he was just not comfortable, or he just kind of like, I don't think he even gave me an explanation, just kind of like brushed off and left. And so I wait a little bit longer. I see another man coming up, this man is with his family, like another very frum, like very just like nice looking family. And I thought, okay, here are some good yidden, they'll help me. Like they, again, like this, seat out, like nice suit, just very dignified looking. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be a good guy. He'll help me out. Again, I ask him, and he says like, no, I'm with my family. Like I can't. Kind of makes an excuse and sort of dodges off. This happened like a few times with different men that all looked very frum, and I was very confident each time, this is like, he's gonna do this as a mitzvah. It's like he's gonna like understand like, wow, this is not a great situation, like here I can step up and help. And so man after man refused to help the situation, and here I am standing as a woman with this next to this man with his pants like continuing to fall down. And I was just very distraught. At a certain point, there were just no other people near us, so I was like waiting and didn't know how long I felt like obligated to wait. And I'm like calculating in my mind, like, what do I do? It didn't seem like it wasn't an emergency situation, so it's not like I was gonna like call an emergency service to help us out with this. And I was just at a loss, and I wasn't sure what to do. As I'm thinking about this, a young lady walks by me, and she like sees the man and like kind of understands like that sort of the situation we're in. And I explained the situation to her. I'm like, his pants are falling down, like I don't know what to do, and I don't feel comfortable lifting them up for him. And this tzedekis, like she says she completely understands. She's like with me, and she's like, oh gosh, and she's just as I can see she's just as uncomfortable with the situation. Decides to help by actually helping this man pull his pants up. She stands next to him, and he's like sitting on a bench, and she's like talking to him, and she's like, like basically helping him helping him pull his pants up, and just like speaking so kindly to him, and she just goes through this and finally manages to help him pull his pants up, and he sits down on the bench, and he seems like he's all set. And I thanked her, and I said like, oh, I didn't know what to do, like, thanks for helping. And she's like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have felt comfortable just like leaving him here as well, so like, she felt like she had to do something. And what was remarkable about this was that she looked like what people would say are not like, not from like, I don't know her story, I don't know her background, but she was wearing shorts and, sleeveless tank top. She had very short hair. Like, she just didn't have the look of what people would stereotypically think of as like, a Torah-keeping Jew, right? And all I could think about was how so many people would look at this young lady and just write her off as somebody who doesn't keep Torah mitzvot, who isn't not some kind of tzedekis, but here she was doing such a loving, holy act, helping somebody out of her comfort, and she just really moved me. And what was so touching about it was that she was just as uncomfortable as I was. And even afterwards, she like had some hand sanitizer in her cart, and was like, just politely like sort of sanitizing her hands. Like, it was not a comfortable, clean situation, I'll just say that. But she did it anyway, out of just pure love. And it was just such a beautiful moment, and something that just really made me think like, wow, I didn't have that level of love and that level of courage to actually, go out of my comfort zone and, put aside my sense of snooze and like to actually go and help this man more directly. And so it was just such a moving situation for me, because I couldn't help stop and think like how many people would have assumed that all of those, very polished looking men with their tzitzit, their nice suits and their kippas, like that those are like the holy Jews. And this young lady who, just looked like, just didn't have any particular look and was, not dressed modestly, as we'd say, like she did the most Jewish act ever. She did the most loving, most kind, most just just the most loving act, and the most, to me, like that's Judaism, that's real Jewish love. And it was so moving. So I'm sharing this story because the moral of the story is to never judge a Yid by how he looks. You never ever know what somebody is holding in their heart, how they behave, what they're capable of doing just by the way that somebody looks. And I think one of the main issues with the Frum community, and this is not like chas v'shalom for me to speak ill of the Frum community, but one of the barriers of us really coming together and appreciating Jews of all kinds is just this whole uniform factor. And this is also why I felt so afraid to be part of the Frum community, because I felt like there was just this barrier between me and them because I looked like me and they looked like them, and it was just such a division. But when you tear all that away, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, because halakhically, yes, it matters if you wear a kippah, if you have tzitzit. Like, I'm not pulling all that away. I do believe in those things, but from the grand scheme of things, in terms of where your heart is and what your heart, how developed your heart is, it doesn't matter whether you don the garments, whether you cover yourself, like whether you're wearing long sleeves like I do, or you are wearing like a cut-off crop top. Like, it honestly doesn't matter. When your heart is that beautiful, that's what a Jewish soul is, that's what Jewish love is. And I hope that this can encourage you to look beyond the garb, to look beyond the uniforms and what people appear to be. And again, this is not to say that all Frum people have cold hearts, but they just look that way. It just, I just want to encourage you to look beyond the appearances in both directions. When you see somebody who doesn't dress modestly, and if you're somebody who really takes care to dress modestly, to never judge them, because you never know how they'll really behave in those moments, and vice versa. Just because you wear a big shtreimel and whatever, like, it doesn't mean that you have this like holier than thou like level. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And so I just wanted to share that because it was such a powerful moment and such a kicker for me to just really check myself and to see how developed my heart was in comparison to this young lady who really literally rolled up her sleeves and like did what she had to do to really help somebody out. So, I was so grateful to her. She was just such an inspiration, and I'll cherish that story forever. And really thinking about that, it was an incredible moment. And again, I wish I had experienced something like that when I was coming up into this path, to have just really to have not put so much weight on how people look and appear to be, especially here in the Jewish world, where appearances play such a big part of how we kind of stack each other up. And I don't think it matters so much in the end. So that's my little message for you today. Hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you guys later. Shalom Aleichem.